Welcome to the Church of Thomas. How to live, 7/20/08. Many have lost the rudders in their lives. They do not have a clue on how to live their lives. Jesus taught us how to be right with God. Jesus gave us pointers on how to be closer to God and how to live our lives. We need look no further than these verses to see our paths. The first part refers to seeing the world with innocence, to find our way to remember heaven as a baby still remembers. The last part refers to how some people will choose to not serve anyone but themselves. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 4. Jesus said, "An old person who dares to see the wisdom in the eyes of a 7-day-old infant will know how to know heaven and be born again. Many who are first will be last in service to the one." Here are some more conventional rules to live by. The questions these students were asking reflected the rules laid down by the priesthood, not God. As a result, many had no meaning to the followers of Jesus. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 6. Jesus' students asked him, "Should we fast? How do you want us to pray? Should we give money for the poor? What special food should we eat?" Jesus said, "Tell no lies, do everything with love, because in this way all that was hidden will be obvious. Do not fast, you will sin. The one knows your bodies need nourishment. Prayer by formula will condemn you. Talk to the one from your heart instead. Do not give to the poor indirectly, because this will harm your soul. Give directly of your heart and yourself. When you go to another land, be respectful of their customs. Then, if they accept you, eat what they offer you. This acknowledges their act of hospitality. Heal anyone with them who is in need of healing. What you put in your mouth will not hurt your soul, but what you say can poison your soul if it is not true or said with malice." This verse is a call for moderation. At the time, Jesus said that there were many who felt that life was too short to not overdo everything. The exception, of course, is that showing God's love to others should be encouraged. The priesthood had set down many prohibitions for the Sabbath. These prohibitions sometimes interfered with doing God's work, helping others. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 27. Jesus said, "If you do not practice moderation regarding the world, you will not find heaven. Practice moderation in all things except love. Do good on the Sabbath, not the things of man. In this way you will see the glorious shining face of the one." In this verse you can see that most people are capable of finding something lovable in their family and friends. Jesus did not chastise this way of loving. What he did emphasize was the need to love strangers as well as your family. The last part emphasizes that love without a foundation in our love and worship of God will be lacking a key ingredient. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 55. Jesus said, "Love begins at home, but if it is chained there, it can never follow my path. Loving all is the only way to be able to bear a cross. Love God first, because all other love is hollow without it." This verse will probably sound more familiar to mainstream Christians. To love Jesus often meant doing things that draws our world's anger towards our self-restraint. By speaking of Jesus, God, and the rules we must use in our lives, more times than not, go against the societies we live in. Actions taught by Jesus do not follow the crowd and are persecuted. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 68. Jesus said, "Blessed are people who are hated and persecuted. The people and places who have hated and persecuted you will find no solace in the one." Sometimes to understand a situation fully, you must withdraw from it its influences to understand what is happening. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 42. Jesus said, "Stand outside the world to see the whole." In this verse you can see the opposing forces of godly versus worldly pursuits. In this day and age of rampant consumerism, having things has been touted as a cure-all for all that ails you. If you buy into this, you probably will have a hard time connecting with God. Your things will have become your gods. The second part of the verse refers to old ideas versus new ideas. Jesus taught lessons that were filled with new life, as a new wine for the world. These new ideas and teachings could not be contained or restrained by the written-in-stone variety of worship that the Jewish people had followed up to that point. The cloth illustration uses a similar analogy. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 47. It is impossible for a person to mount two steeds or stretch two bows at the same time. It is impossible to serve two bosses. A person would respect one and treat the other with contempt. This does not mean that reason and spirit are two masters. Those two should work as a team to reach the one. No one who has a taste for old wine reaches for an unaged new wine. New wine is not put in old wineskins because it would burst, because it holds life. Aged wine does not hold life. Its sugar is expended, and it would spoil in a new wineskin because the skin is not cured by the fermentation. An old patch is not safely sewn onto a new garment because it will be ripped, because the cloth shrinks at different rates. This verse is a warning to stay vigilant in your faith. Satan and those that follow him are always trying to undercut and sabotage our work for God. It is often not a big thing, but that leak can become a permanent drain on your strength if you do not notice what has happened and make an effort to protect yourself. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 97. Jesus said, "The world is like a woman who carried a sack of grain that sprang a leak. It was a leak that she did not see. When she got home, all the grain had run out and the sack was empty. Guard against the thief and the liar. You never know when they will come and poke a hole in your faith, leaving you empty without understanding how it happened." This verse is a reference to the practice of consecrating infants and males that join a Jewish family as servants, slaves, or convert as adults. Many of the students tried to continue enforcing this ceremony with new Christians. They felt that because Jesus was a Jew like them, that what he taught was a variety of Jewish faith. What they did not understand was that Jesus was not updating Jewish tradition, but reaching out to the entire world. What Jesus taught was that the covenant with God had moved into the next phase. The flesh being given as sacrifice was unimportant. It was the sacrifice of the soul you choose to make to God that mattered. Reconciler Gospel of Thomas, verse 53. Jesus' student asked, "Should your students and followers be circumcised?" Jesus said, "No. If it were good for a person to be circumcised, they would be conceived circumcised in their mother's womb. The only true circumcision would be of your spirit." God bless the whole world, no exceptions. Angel Eliza.